Do you ever wonder where your drinking water comes from? It may seem unthinkable that fresh water could ever become scarce, but it's a real concern for people who live by the ocean. Take Philadelphia, for example, whose freshwater supply is connected to the Atlantic.
In Philly, they draw their drinking water out of the river, and the river's tidal. As tides go all the way up, there's Delaware Bay there that connects to the Atlantic Ocean. That's sort of between Delaware and New Jersey, and it's sort of like kind of funnels up and comes up to Philadelphia and then up to Trenton, and it's tidal all the way up to Trenton, New Jersey. So that's a part of a river there that we call the tidal fresh part of the river. And salt can get up there, during droughts and can threaten the water supply.
The phenomena of saltwater encroaching on freshwater is known as saltwater intrusion, or more accurately, salinity squeeze, because it happens at both the land and the ocean side. Here's a simulation of this with saltwater and freshwater. Whenever the barrier between the two is removed and the two are allowed to make contact with each other, we can see that the saltwater sinks beneath the freshwater as they make contact. This is because the saltwater is denser than the freshwater.
But really, unlike other things that might be in drinking water, like, bacteria, for example, can be treated with chlorine. Like water is often chlorinated in order to kill the bacteria in water. So that's one kind of treatment, but there aren't really treatments that are used for salt contamination.
So, how does Philadelphia keep this issue under control? Although unable to cleanse salt from freshwater, they do have a way to hinder saltwater intrusion.
So, what Philadelphia does is that they prevent the flow of the river from getting too low. So, the Delaware River is not itself dammed, but there are dams in the Delaware River Basin. And one of the purposes of the dams is to have some water that's available to release during periods of low flow, during droughts. And these low periods of low flow generally occur in the summer and the fall because it turns out precipitation in the mid-Atlantic region is a little bit higher in the summer. They have a threshold of that the river flow can't drop below. And the way they manage it is just by releasing water from the reservoir. So that's how they deal with it. And actually, they've been quite effective. It's worked very well, and they're able to keep the water supply pretty much salt free. But what they're worried about is that it's going to get worse because we might be seeing more droughts in the future. It's certainly getting warmer. So you have that. You also have sea level rise.
In the fall of 2024, Philadelphia experienced its driest season in over a century, going 42 straight days without measurable precipitation and recording the lowest total rainfall in more than 100 years. Should drought conditions persist in future years, the rate of saltwater intrusion into freshwater systems will accelerate. But climatological shifts are not solely to blame. Human activity also plays a role, especially inland.
I've been emphasizing the impact of, changes in climate and weather on saltwater intrusion, but what we do on land has an impact as well. So our rivers, like if you just go to rivers here in Center County and look at how, rivers naturally have salt in them. That's why the ocean is salty, because all the rivers in Pennsylvania, non-tidal rivers, they're pretty much wherever you monitor for salt, and you can do it pretty easily. There are probes that measure the electric conductivity of the water, and that's related to how much salt there is. We see the conductivity going up, right? And why is that? A lot of it has to do with the application of road salt, which of course we need to do in order to keep our roads safe. We could be doing that a lot more smartly. We could be using brines instead of like rock salt, and brines have been shown to be as effective as putting just salt down.
When snow and ice hits, salt trucks dump tons of salt on highways. That salt washes into streams and rivers, which stresses freshwater ecosystems even outside of coastal zones. Salt trucks aren't the only ones to blame, though. Individual overusage of salt on driveways or sidewalks also contribute. Now, that doesn't mean you have to end your usage of salt entirely, you just have to stay on top of things.
And individuals, they can play a role too. When it snows, when it stops snowing, you should get out and shovel your sidewalk. And if you do that, you don't have to put down as much salt, right? Because people end up putting salt down because maybe they waited too long to shovel. Then it gets icy, right? But if you go out and shovel, and usually it'll warm up after a storm, and the sun will come out, and that'll, you won't have a problem. But people tend to oversalt their sidewalks and driveways, and businesses tend to overdo it. And you can understand why. There's safety issues. It's better maybe to overdo it than to underdo it. But it's just a matter of just doing it more thoughtfully and smartly. And you can be as safe with less salt if you do it in a judicious way.
When winter rolls around and snow begins piling up, try not to procrastinate plowing your driveway and be mindful of your salt usage so that you can do your part in keeping our drinking water fresh. For Weather World, I'm Rebecca Newell.